This is Dan of Vagabond Awake.
𝗔𝗕 from 𝗕𝗵𝗲 Venture.
And today we want to ask the question, should we keep traveling out of a suitcase?
Or should we keep traveling?
We get comments on our videos from time to time that say, you're traveling out of a suitcase. Why do you do that? Why don't you just stay in one place, pick one place and move there and just go on vacations like everybody else? And so we wanted to talk about, should we keep traveling like we are? And before we do that, we want to explain that we really don't feel like we're living out of a suitcase. Time, for example, time. It doesn't feel like living out of a suitcase if you stay in each place enough time, a long enough time. So stay longer when you love a place and leave when you don't.
Yeah, it just remind me that when we're traveling, we have no agenda. We don't have a plan. We just go to a place, like most people want to go to retire and haven't seen the country, then we go. Example, in Guatemala, we fall in love in Antigua and we just stay there for a month.
Yeah.
And we feel like there's no enough time. And we would love to stay in longer.
Yeah, so time is something you have to decide, but it won't feel like living out of the suitcase if you find the right time for each place that you want to stay. That's why we never book the next place when we go to a place. We always go and we have an open date. We don't decide we're leaving a place until we get there. The second thing is when you arrive in a place, it's not living out of a suitcase if you unpack. We stay in Airbnbs. They often have closets with drawers. We take our clothes and we put them in the drawers, so we're not actually living out of the suitcase. Now, if we're only going somewhere for a weekend or 4 or 5 days, maybe we don't do that. But if you're unpacking, you shouldn't be living out of a suitcase.
And we are the travelers, so we love to experience the local, the style, the culture. We are living in their world to experience it. We are not just a tourist to come and escape from wherever we are, and just come, touch, and go.
Yeah, and it's not constantly moving when you're getting to know a culture. You feel like you're learning about a place. And so the other thing is that we travel with spices, we travel with pasta, coffee, our knives and openers, like bottle openers and whatnot. So it feels like we're bringing a little bit of our world with us when we travel. And so we have routines that we keep.
I have to say coffee is very important.
Yeah, totally. So the other thing is downtime. How much downtime do you have? Like if you're just go, when you get to a place and you're trying to see it all within a week, yeah, that's going to be hectic. That is going to be living out of a suitcase. And then boom, you're out of there a week later. That doesn't make any sense to me. So downtime is, what do you do in your home country that makes it feel like home? Do you go to the movies? Do you cook at home? Do you watch Netflix? You have to include downtime in your travels or it's going to feel like you're living out of a suitcase.
Yeah, it's example that we go for our movie. When we found a place that we can go for cinema, we will go.
Yeah.
And also like a date night, we will find like a jazz or the live bands, they have a show. We will go there. So it's like we are living in our life. Not like you go for like a tourist that escape from your country.
Yeah, when we arrive in a place, we don't have a full schedule. Take this tour, second day that tour, third day that tour. We integrate our movement in a new country into our lives, and we spend, I would say, at least half the time running our normal routines we would in our home country. And the other half would be exploring or other downtime, just goofing off or whatever.
Like you will go to, no matter how, you will go for a run every morning?
Every morning, yeah, I go for a run. I hit the gym. I love to cook. Yeah. And we do Netflix. We talk to our family on Zoom or whatever, Skype, WhatsApp. And so we also keep our traditions. Like when it's Christmas, we'll pick up some goofy little Christmas tree we find in a store, put that on a table somewhere, get gifts, cook Christmas meals, that kind of thing. Yeah. And we also go on vacation.
Yeah, we a vacation from a vacation. That's what people say.
And we often spend our weekends like time off rather than thinking of that as travel time. So there's little things we do to make it feel like we're not. So by the way, Chung and I, we were just separated for about a month. And at the end of this video, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll find out what we did while we were separated, what we each did, and why we were apart. So make sure to watch that on Chung's channel. So now that you know what we don't live out of a suitcase, we can answer the question, should we keep traveling like this, or should we do something different? Now, I've been to 67 countries, traveling the world like this over 16 years. I met Chung in 2016. She joined me in 2017, and we've been to 23 countries together since over the last 6 years. Mm-hmm. And so should we keep doing this, or should we get an empty bed somewhere, go home each time we go to a new place? That's kind of what we wanted to talk about next. So
Really? You feel like you want to stay in one place?
no. But I thought I would explain to them why, because they're afraid we're going to live out of a suitcase. They're worried about that. And so over the last 2 years, for example, we average about 5 or 6 countries per year. And over the last 2 years, we've been to Mexico, Dominican Republic, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua,
Philippines, Malaysia,
Guatemala,
Indonesia, Thailand,
and
Scotland, Vienna, Portugal, Morocco, some majestic country.
Yeah, a bunch of places. So should we establish a base where we have an empty bed? Some people say, oh, you're traveling too much. You need to have a base where you have an empty bed somewhere. And you fly to the one place, and then you fly back. And then you stay at home for a few months. And then you fly to a new place. And then you fly back home. So we want to talk about what slow travel is, why we do it, and why we don't keep flying home like many people do when they're traveling. So what is slow travel? And we want to talk about that first. This is Dan of Vagabond Buddha. We have hundreds of reports of the best places to retire cheap in paradise. You can click any one of these countries and you'll see many reports in each country. And then we have all these planning reports that teaches you how to plan overseas retirement. I got an email from one of my subscribers that said, there's so many ebooks, I don't know which one to read first. So I put together a course for you here, the Retire Overseas course. Come on over and play this syllabus for the course. You'll learn what the course is about. Get our free ebook here. And so you're on our email list, How I Fired My Boss and Traveled the World for 14 plus years. Just come over here, put in your email. I'll give you a warning when we're going to raise our prices. And so we exhaust a country before we leave it. We don't just fly to one city in a country, stay for a week and fly home. When we get to a country, we do a little research and we figure out every town we want to see in that country, or maybe the beach or mountains or whatever. And we exhaust it all, meaning we see it all before we leave a country.
Yeah, we eat all the food before we leaving also.
Yeah, and we travel around by ground, take buses, we take trains. We don't fly from city to city. Often they're just a few hundred miles away, so just take a train or take a bus. And the other thing we do is once we've seen everything we want in a country, we go to nearby countries and we exhaust all the countries near it that we want to see before we fly to a new continent. Mm-hmm. And then when we move between continents, we don't fly across the world to another continent. We go to the next nearest continent and we look at and see everything inside that continent we want before we fly to another continent. So what we're doing is we're creating the shortest line, if you think about it, to see everything we want to see in the world. We don't go over there, back to here, over there. And so what does that do? It minimizes how much money we spend on travel.
Oh, definitely.
Because those continental flights are expensive.
Very expensive.
So that's why we do it this way. And so we don't have it. If we left for months and had an empty bed somewhere, why would we want to pay the rent like that somewhere when we're not even staying there? You know, we could rent it out. And I could talk about that more later. In fact, I have some rentals, but we don't have an empty bed anywhere in the world. We just move slowly forward through the world, taking buses and trains. Once in a while we buy an air ticket and we buy a one-way ticket. We don't fly back anywhere, we just slowly move forward.
Yeah, and so if we're tired, we just go for a spa, go for a massage. As we know, they're so cheap in Asia.
Yeah, so we don't feel like we're living out of a suitcase, and we don't fly back to an empty bed, and it saves a lot of money. And we get to stay. If we love a place, Maybe we'll stay a month. Maybe we'll stay 6 weeks. Why do we want to rush home? Why do we want to buy a 2-week ticket, a round-trip ticket? It doesn't make any sense. So where should we go next?
Wow, I have no idea. Maybe you can share about where you want to see or where you hear that is very fun to visit, so we can go and check it out for you.
Yeah, so let us know where you think we should go. In general, as you know, we're visiting the retired, cheap, and paradise countries around the world. We're showing you what food costs, what rent costs, what buses and trains cost to do things.
Is the locals speak English?
What do we do if they don't?
Oh, well, you have to use your Google Translate and communicate with them, like what we do in Vietnam. I mean, not in the big city. I mean, in the very, like a village, not village, less tourist area.
Yeah.
You need to learn to speak some Vietnamese language.
Yeah, usually just a greeting. We usually end up using Google or other tools, and we just talk into it in English, and it says the word in the foreign language, and we hold that up to the person we're trying to communicate with. So.
Or you can type it. It's more easier.
Yeah, we type it too.
Yeah.
And so you have that available to you. You don't necessarily need to speak all of these languages. We don't learn 6 languages per year. So, although Chung has like 6 or 7 languages.
Not really. That's just easier, I think.
Yeah. So here are the places where foreigners retire overseas, and we want to hit them all. And as you know, we've hit most of them. I have 67 countries. We have retired cheap reports in most of the major places where expats or Western people or anyone really retires overseas. But there's some places we need to pick up. I've been to many or most of them, but that was before I started my information business, where it shares reports about retiring in all these places. So we need to go back and write reports about cost of living and all that. So for example, we would already have gone to Eastern Europe. Many Europeans like to live in Eastern Europe because it's very beautiful and older, and it's cheaper.
Yes.
It wasn't blown up in World War I or World War II because the ground was covered quickly by the attacking enemies, so all the buildings weren't burned to the ground or bombed to death. And so Eastern Europe's a fascinating place for that reason. But to give you an example, Georgia, Armenia, Turkey, Albania, Croatia, Serbia, Romania,
Ukraine, Poland,
Lithuania, Latvia,
and
Estonia. In Europe, we want to see Italy, Greece, and Spain. And then in South America,
Brazil, Chile, Argentina,
Uruguay,
Paraguay,
and Bolivia. And then in Asia, there's many more places we want to see, such as China,
India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Laos, and Myanmar.
Exactly. And so those are places that we will slow travel when we're in each of them, and we're not sure where we'll go next. Looks like we're going to head to the Philippines next week. We'll be there for about 6 months, and more on that later. We'll let you know where. In case you're in the Philippines, we'd love to meet you at one of our meetups. Once we firmed up what our path is going through the Philippines, we'll let you know. We already have 20 retired cheap reports in the Philippines, but we have about 8 more places we want to see.
Yeah.
And so that's why we keep traveling. We love it. And we bring the world to you. And we have written reports about all these places we visit. And I also have courses on how to retire overseas and how to make money online, in case you're not making enough yet to retire early and you want to learn how to do that. Mm-hmm. Thanks for watching our video. By the way, come to vagabondbuddha.com to see all the reports and courses we have. And right now you want to click in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and that's where our video will be, where Chung and I talk about the fact that we were apart for 30 days and what we did. So watch that now.
See you there.
Bye-bye.